I had never believed in the existence of jinn or ghosts my entire life. I was a young man in the prime of my youth, and by God's grace I found a bride who was like a gift from heaven to me. We were married, and all that remained for us to be together under one roof was to find a suitable home. Eventually I found an apartment, such a beautiful apartment at an unbelievably low price. I was told it was haunted by jinn, but I thanked the jinn who occupied it for allowing me to get it at such an amazing price. The previous owner had started painting it but supposedly stopped after witnessing frightening things at night. Since I am an engineer and aware of the quality of its construction, I insisted on buying it, renovating it, and turning it into an extraordinary home. I hired a contractor and his assistants, instructing them to work only during the day. They began executing my instructions. However, during the first week, I had a car accident that broke my arm and leg. My family advised me to leave the apartment, but I was convinced it was just fate and had nothing to do with the apartment. After I recovered, all the renovations were complete. I took my wife and went there. A heated argument broke out between us, and I suddenly felt an overwhelming urge to grab her head and slam it against the wall. I resisted this urge, but it was incredibly difficult. I left the apartment immediately, leaving my wife in a state of shock over my exaggerated reaction. I decided to stay in the apartment before moving in with her, just to reassure myself and make the right decision. I asked my close friend to stay with me to help figure things out, and from the very first night, something horrifying happened. I saw a shadow following me wherever I went in the apartment. When I told my friend, he swore he saw it too, describing it as a small child who even tried to speak to him. We never went back to that apartment. However, I decided to look into its history. I discovered it belonged to the brother of a neighbor who lived above it. When I spoke to him, he shared its unsettling past. When the building was first constructed, it was a large 7-story building with only one apartment on each floor. The apartment was on the 3rd floor. One day, while an electrician was finishing his work there, he was electrocuted and died on the spot. All the floors were sold except for the 3rd floor, where the landlord moved in. Later, his young son died from gas inhalation in the apartment's bathroom. The landlord became resentful and superstitious about the apartment and decided to sell it. It was then bought by the father of a student at a nearby university. Tragedy struck again when the student invited 3 of his friends over, one of whom was a police academy student carrying his personal gun. They began joking around, and one of them grabbed the gun to tease his friends, thinking the magazine was empty. However, he forgot to check the chamber, and a bullet fired accidentally, killing his friend in front of everyone. The student who fired the shot fell into a severe depression, especially since he kept seeing his friend everywhere in the apartment. He dropped out of university and his life fell apart. He even attempted suicide in the apartment, but his father rescued him in time. The father took him away and put the apartment up for sale, eventually selling it to a man who worked in the Gulf region. This man left it closed and unoccupied.